Major funding for this program is provided by grants from HSH Nordbank and First American Title Insurance Company of New York, Perfect Building Maintenance, Allied Partners, Murray Hill Properties, Bank of America, SJP Properties, Greenberg TRAURIG. Additional funding for this program is made possible by grants from Arbor Realty Trust, BRT Realty Trust, Burden LLP, CB Richard Ellis, City Habitats, City Investment Fund, Cushman & Wakefield, Eastern Consolidated, Essex Capital Partners, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, MASSEY KNAKAL Realty Services, Meridian Capital Group, McSam Hotel Group, Muss Development LLC, Newmark Knight Frank, Palin Enterprises, Rosenthal & Rosenthal Inc., Signature Bank, Sidney Fettner Associates, Studley, Stonehenge Partners, SWIG Equities, Extreme Contracting and Deconstruction.
Hello, my name is Michael Stoller, host of the Stoller Report, Real Estate Trends in the Tri-State Region. A lot of people have to live in New York City. They have to live in rental apartments. And today, I have the guys who are going to tell you what's happening in the rental marketplace. My guests today are all three returnees. I feel like it's the McLaughlin Report with my regulars over here. Ofer Yardeni, Principal Managing Director of Stonehenge Partners, Rob Rosani, CEO of Stellar Management, and last but not least, Hal Fettner, Principal at Sidney Fettner Organization. So, Ofer, Rob, a couple weeks ago you were here, we were talking about the market, what the credit crunch, what's happening, you know, I read this hype in the newspaper, okay, that the world is doing great in condominiums. What's happening in the rental marketplace, okay? You're in the middle of renting a building right now, you know, on 31st Street. You own a number of buildings. What's really happening? What's happening in the rental market in New York City?
It's very, very interesting times, but you always have to remember that we are coming from the best season
not like the Mets.
No, not like the Mets, definitely. I'm a Yankee fan anyway. But you have to understand that the summer is really the time where we are the most active. And we have properties that goes from Soho to the Upper West Side, from the Village, Upper East Side, and we are raising rents around 10–15% from last year. And we still see a huge demand for rental in the city. No concession, and less and less people are sharing apartments, and huge demand. I mean, we are getting in the West Village over $70–75 per square foot on real square footage. So, and buildings with no amenities, just dormant. So we are very, very bullish on the rental market.
Let's talk about the Epic.
The Epic.
Okay, he's building, but let's talk about the Epic. What's the Epic?
The Epic is a 465 unit building that we just completed. We opened up the leasing office in April, and through this weekend we're about 82% leased. And I agree with Ofer in that the rental market right now is really driven by new hires and employment. And so it is cyclical, and the summer season, when all the new hires are coming to New York, is really a spectacular season. We have really just a few apartments left at this point.
And what type of rents?
Okay, the rents are basically $69 of what we're averaging for the entire building. They're massive rents. And let me tell you, the interesting thing is that 55% of this building being leased at this point are from people who have never lived in the city before.
So where are they coming from?
Okay, all over. These are all new hires. They're coming. We have people from Texas. We have actually a lot of foreigners. We have people from California, all across the country. The other interesting statistic, these are the next movers and shakers, in that these people, 80% of my building are under 40 years old. Right.
It's
wild. It's wild. 55% of my residents are in their 20s. And the balance are in the 30s to make up.
Okay, let's go to that. Okay, 55% of your residents are in their 20s. $69 a square foot for my audience. How big is a one-bedroom apartment?
Let's talk about it exactly, because that's the key. In a studio, we used to think that $2,000 was the secret, the big number. Today, we own the Olivia, that is a 600,000 square feet on 31st Street, between
right near his property,
just next to him, and we are achieving for studios $2,400 per month, and one bedroom we are approaching the $3,700 a month, and I'm quite stunned because I did not think that we can achieve those rents. I thought the 2,000 was the number, and I believe the rents are going to go over $4,000 for a one bedroom.
Can I remember?
But I'm going to tell you, okay? Because when Ofer bought that building, we thought he was nuts. Because we heard
people think I'm nuts.
Oh my gosh, we thought he was nuts, and I'm building right near him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, either he's nuts or he's a genius. And you know what? The market's he's brilliant because he's getting these numbers.
I'm going to give you my wife's phone number so you can tell it.
So I have a question. So what are you charging? He says he's charging for a building which is, what, about 8 years old now?
No. You have to understand, the Olivia was really rebranded. Yeah. It's 2002 or 2001, but we renovated the hallways, we renovated the lobby.
It's like a brand new building. But so
and you have the best health club in New York City that is on the 36th floor that we don't charge. And if you come to our roof top, you will see loungers, and people are, we have parties there. We have a yoga center. We have special Monday night football there. We have a screen, 100-inch
So you're a social club.
We are a social club.
But you have to be. Michael, that's a very good point that Ofer brought up. The renter of today, which is, as Hal said, people that are predominantly from their 20s to their 40s are lifestyle oriented. They want lifestyle things, okay? So a great health club, a movie theater. They want to feel like they're part of something altogether. And there is a substantial premium between the lifestyle residences, like what Ofer just articulated, and just some walk up mid-block in that exact same location.
And
a substantial premium.
And to continue on that idea, you know very well, we believe it's like a vertical neighborhood. For example, on Thanksgiving, we sent all the tenants a letter with a greeting for the holiday with a turkey. We send Valentine's Days, we give them roses. We have skiing trip to Canada. We have a baseball team. We have parties, and we provide it like an entertainment.
Lifestyle.
This is the trend. This is the trend. You know, there's an interesting phenomenon that has taken place, and it's taken place very quickly. 4 or 5 years ago, you looked at rental based on the location to transportation. Today, it's a point of destination. You have to build a building that have the amenities, and you know what? You could be far away from good transportation, and you will lease up that building if you've got the right amenities.
Yeah, but wait.
But I still believe
let's understand. His location,
the
your location is right in Penn Station.
Absolutely.
You have all these
There's
subways.
no question.
You have everything over there. It's not Independence Plaza. You know?
No. But Independence Plaza is a perfect example. People want amenities, okay? So Independence Plaza, although it's not immediately adjacent to transportation, you've got unobstructed views of all of Lower Manhattan. Once you get, into the 10th floor.
But you don't have a baseball team. You don't have this.
Well, we don't have a baseball team.
You have a bocce team. You know, there is any bocce team. But my question, Ofer.
Yes.
You've been on my show many times. I've done your life story. I remember this 26-year-old Israeli who came here to go to NYU because he thought it was Animal House, and he comes here with $600 in his pocket. Ofer, how could you afford? You couldn't afford to pay rent. I'm hearing $2,000. I'm hearing that's a studio, $2,400.
It's a misconception.
$3,700 for a one bedroom?
Michael, it's a misconception because
much more.
More.
How much?
$4,500.
$4,200 to $4,500, $4,600.
we have a young lady sitting in our studio. She's the workforce. Where do those people live?
Michael, I think you got to keep things in perspective. And we had this discussion a few times ago when I was on with Ofer. If somebody's paying $4,500 a month, or plus or minus $50,000 a year, and they're making $250,000 a year as a analyst on Wall Street, they're paying a small portion.
Rob,
this is not our tenants.
That's not his tenants.
This is not our tenants. And I'll tell you who
are
our tenants.
Wait a second. Those aren't the tenants you're talking about?
Our tenants
Sure
are making somewhere between $75,000 to $150,000. If they made $250,000, they would live somewhere else. The thing that what we have today is the parents are helping the kids. And the parents, in a lot of cases, are paying for their kids to live in New York City. So that's a big segment of the people that are living here. Second, what we have a lot in the last 4 months. I look at the traffic reports and I see that a lot of law firms have been hiring. Right. And they are giving their employees between $90,000 to $150,000 to $175,000. So really, all those guys want to be in the city. The majority of their income.
They don't want to go to the Gold Coast? They don't want to go to Jersey City?
No.
To be at Leverack or something?
No, they want to be in New York City. They want to be in Times Square. They want to be in the Village.
They want
like
the
to be in
lifestyle,
Soho.
guys.
They want to be where it's cool, where it's hot, where it's fast, with their friends. And this is what we see here.
So who's going to move into your rental building? You're building up on 97th Street in the Upper West Side, okay?
A lot of people.
Okay,
Listen,
but what's the profile? Who's going to be there? Who's going to pay the rent?
The profile is average New Yorkers, okay? It's not, again, when you're building 1 million feet of rental, you're not going to get one profile, obviously, okay? What we're doing is building something which will take 36 months to, be completed. And we're building a lot of residences, obviously. But the residences that we see throughout New York, it depends on where an individual wants to live.
But we were talking, okay, Hal and Ofer you have the Olivia on 33rd, 34th Street on 8th Avenue. You have the Epic on 31st Street between 6th and 7th Avenue. Yes. You have the Victoria on 42nd Street,
right.
41st Street. Then you have the Chesapeake, and then Helena on 57th Street. I mean, you have different markets, and these different markets have different tendencies and different lifestyles, as you said. There are different rents. But
of course, that's right.
Yeah, but the whole question is how much how much could people afford to pay? I mean,
by the way,
I heard
when you say to go back to his location, we have 600,000 square feet on 97 between Columbus and Amsterdam, and I can tell you that he has one of the best locations in New York City, because you're going to have from students, 2 families, 2 single, next to the park, key transportation, great restaurants, great supermarket. He has one of the best locations, and I can tell you that he's going to fill this building in a matter of 12 months.
Wait,
and he will get the rent.
And it's going to be great for you because you have a building right next door.
Listen, if he builds it or not, it will not change the dynamics of my building. I have 418 tenants. They lived there before Rob bought this building, and they will continue. Nothing changed. He's closing the neighborhood and making it even better. So we should all thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, but I think each one of you has done something. When you went to Times Square, let's talk about that.
What, the Victory?
The Victory.
Okay.
I mean, Times Square nobody wanted to live in Times Square.
It
made the Olivia look.
Now, when I bought the land for the Victory, Larry Silverstein had owned his property, had not started on River Place 1. And David Pickett was just coming out of the ground with the new Gotham. And so it was a little gutsy. There was nothing there. You didn't have the Ivy. You didn't have the Orion. You didn't have some of Dan Brodsky's stuff. And but, a lot like I was joking with Ofer with buying the Olivia, the market made me look good. Very plain and simple. The market made me look good. I bought the property. We decided to go forward with it. We felt that I can, build a good product at an affordable rent. And the market moved in my direction. The market moved in my direction after we got through of the collateral impact of 9/11.
And my question is, rents go up. When is the point that somebody said, I'm paying too much in rent and I want to buy something. Well, when's that point?
Well, it depends on.
I mean, Ophir's converting a building now, which was a rental to condominium. When's that happen?
But Michael, that's all dependent upon what the costs are underlying it. So, for example, 2 years ago,
I'm not blaming the landlord. I'm asking a
no, the costs underlying it to finance what you're buying. Okay, so 2 years ago when you could get a mortgage for 5%, or today when you could get a mortgage for 7%, it's fundamentally more expensive to own today than it was 2 years ago. So therefore, that difference or that
so
delta
it's great
is
for
even
the three
greater.
of you these days.
Yes,
it's very, very good for us. I also believe that people are, when they come and they buy a condo, especially the first-time buyer, I think it's not so much the economics, but it's more for their mental, for their head, that they want to say, I own something in New York City.
There's no question that's right.
I'm part of the game. I want to be in the national sport, like real estate. Everybody talks every day about real estate. So for them, buying a one-bedroom gives them the ability to go to the bar, to the restaurant, to the friend, and say, I bought something. I owe something. So it's not necessary buy, rent versus buy. Then if you go for the people who are paying 40 million and 50 million, it's not about buy versus
I'm not
rent.
talking about that.
So,
I'm talking about what you said, the first-time homeowner who wants to have the piece of the apple. Because, I mean, you built a building which was a condo, but that was not really even for the first-time homeowner. It was
90 East End Avenue?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was not a first time.
Clearly not.
No, it was, it's a different type. And, I mean, if you would have taken the Helena, which is on 57th Street off 11th Avenue, also he changes the name over there. It's West End Avenue 2 blocks later. It's a different market. There's...
You asked the question, what's the point where you buy? That's not my market. Our market is really for the first or second apartment entry-level position for professionals. All right? The person who ultimately buys is probably somebody who is close to getting married, close to starting a family, has been working for a number of years and has a sense of security that they're not going to lose their job. But that's not my marketplace. My marketplace is really for that person who is just entering the workforce. And
so you have from what I hear, in most of your buildings, you have the yuppie and the echo boomer.
Absolutely. And you talk, and I want to go back to a point that Ofer was making about the amenities, and an interesting story. In the Epic, we prepare, all my buildings are pet friendly. So with the Epic, we thought we were going to have another service of dog walking and the whole bit. And we track every one of our residents, the demographics and what they have, and dogs, cats. Right? We have no dogs in the Epic. And we were like, it took us a little while to figure out the obvious, which is these are young professionals who are working 18, 20 hours a day. They don't have time for dogs. These are our young investment bankers. We're seeing a lot of lawyers, publishing, and these are people who are just really A-type personalities working a lot of hours, and we have no dogs in that building.
We give them the apartment, and at the end of the year we get it in perfect condition because they never use the kitchen, they rarely use the showers, they just go to work and come back at night to sleep.
It's interesting, and I have to bring this up. A couple of years ago, I had Ken Horn on the show who builds condominiums. And I was saying everybody has these Viking ovens that they build into these apartments. And he said he went back into the condo that he sold to this guy a year and a half later, and he opened up the oven and he saw the dry... No, forget it. The guy used it for storage of his dress shirts because he had never opened the oven. My wife watches the show. I should say the oven isn't used too much in our house. So no, but it's a different thing, and I agree. You own a lot of affordable apartments. How many apartments do you own in New York? I'm not talking San Francisco.
12,000.
So who lives in these 12,000? They're not all Olivia type of apartments.
No, we own across the gamut. So we own stuff like Independence Plaza and Embassy House and the new stuff that we're building on 97th to 100th Street, which obviously caters to one particular renter. And then we own stuff in the Bronx that caters to a completely different type of renter.
And what's the rent there? I mean, these guys don't know. He's never been in the Bronx.
No, I've been in the Bronx.
Understand.
I go to the Yankee
Stadium.
He goes to Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
I've seen him there.
But what's the rents in the Bronx? You have properties in the Bronx. You have properties in Queens. What do these people get? What do they pay?
Now it's interesting because when we have bought buildings in the Bronx recently, Mitchell-Lamas that we took out of the program. We renovate the apartments like we do here in Manhattan, no different, okay? And, we probably get somewhere in the low 20s per square foot. So, a one bedroom is $1,200, $1,300 a month, something like that. But, up in the Bronx, people want things, a little bit different than what they want here in Manhattan. In Washington Heights, they want something different than they want in the Bronx. We own in all of those boroughs, and frankly, in locations within Manhattan that aren't, what you would otherwise call downtown residential, which is south of 96th Street. But at the end of the day, every resident wants the same fundamental thing, which is a good apartment to live in and good basic services.
Right, and you are providing in many of your buildings, and Ofer's doing it also in some of his buildings in different parts of the place. You're providing to the workforce housing that they can afford. Okay,
correct.
Each one is providing a different type of venue, because when you're saying, look at all the people moving to New York, they need a place to live.
Absolutely.
Okay?
And by the way, we are fundamental believers in being exposed across the gamut. Okay, so we have high-end apartments which get $60, $70, $80 a foot, and then we have apartments that get $15 or $20 a foot. Okay, across the scope of it, we have in Manhattan.
What about you?
We are doing the same. We are treating the typical 1960s construction that we have on the Upper West Side or the East Side the same as we are treating the luxury. We do almost the same renovation, and any units that become vacant, we get the market. And the rest, we continue to run them and provide the services to the tenants that live there. And we have school teachers, we have musicians, we have bankers, we have journalists, we have secretaries. We have from almost every segment in the market.
Now you see that, Michael, the interesting thing is what Ofer just said. If you roll back the rental marketplace 15 or 20 years ago, there were much fewer people that owned apartments that were, when they turned, renovating them. We put stone and stainless in almost all of our rental apartments in Manhattan, okay? There were much fewer people providing that level of fit and finish in rental apartments.
Rob, I think that was really also because you had the mom and pop owners.
No, it's because also the laws that change.
No, but Ofer, in many cases,
incentives.
Ofer, a lot of the buildings that I've known you for so many years, they were the mom and pop owners. They were the people who were undercapitalized, who to put some money into the apartment.
But the market's also better capitalized now.
No, but there was the undercapitalized, okay? House only built new things over the years, okay?
Right.
I mean, your dad built originally, but it's a different market. And even when your dad built, he built a different type. We're not talking about pre-war buildings, which were walk-up buildings or, that weren't there, and there weren't people servicing. And I think what you've done and what a variety of the new owners of buildings have done is that they've elevated. But I want to bring up something, because how you've built most of your buildings are what we call the 80-20, and this is what my viewers are always looking. You're building market rate. New York City is a workforce housing.
Absolutely.
We have the cops. We have everybody. We have the people who need this housing. Let's talk. You could have done what he's doing up on West Side over here, where he's only building market rate housing. Why do you build affordable housing? You're the 20% component.
Well, you know what? I'm not so sure I could have done what he's doing up there. First of all, when we bought the property and started performing the property, we were not performing $69 a foot. We thought we were going to get $49 a foot, and that was a stretch. So when you look at $49 a foot plus the construction cost that we were looking at the time that we were building this building, I needed the 80-20. I needed that low cost of money. I needed the tax incentives, and I needed the 421A.
But you also provided a wonderful service. You provided 20% of these units are for 20 years or 25 years protected.
It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic to be able to do that, but
and it's the same apartment.
But it's the benefit.
The same
but
apartment.
No, wait a second.
Michael, it's not the same apartment. It's not the same finishes. And Al is a unique individual. But I would tell that most of the developers that are building are not doing it because they love the affordable housing. So let's put it where it is. They buy it.
No, how is it? They're doing it because
I'm saying I'm doing it because I had to do it to make the numbers work.
And the units are not the same. Usually they are maybe in a different location. They have
different,
different finishes.
They have to be blended throughout.
Yeah, but they have different finishes, and it is, you can't.
In all and I agree with you. You know, there are those developers, there are those who are out there that do it differently. I mean, we take the point of view that when the front door of our residence apartment door is open, you should not be able to look in and say, oh, that's a moderate housing. So most, if not almost all of the finished packages in our moderate units are the same as the only difference between the two units is the granite versus the Formica countertops. But that is the only difference.
But it's the same appliances?
Okay, same appliances, same spectacular wood floor. We do a solid oak floor, same bathroom tiles, which so everything is the same except the granite and the
Michael, the one thing I would say is that we had a luxury where we're building on the Upper West Side. We, as a result of buying the entire development that we bought, over the years we ended up owning the land without any basis in it. So we owned it for free. As a result, I mean, obviously Hal had to go out and actively pursue and compete to buy the land. So we had some benefits that, you know, very few people have been afforded. And as a result, we had options that others didn't have. But for the most part, the only way that new construction rental has been able to be built is through the 80-20 program and the cheap financing that the government essentially gives you. We didn't get that cheap financing. We had to pay much more, you know, market rate terms for financing. At the same time, we have the ability to build what we wanted to build.
Okay. So I think my viewers and I have got a pretty good idea of what's happening in the rental market. It looks very strong. People want to come to New York. They need housing, and the three of you are providing this housing. You're going to be building new housing. You're going to be building the second Helena. You're going to be building other things, and you're even going to start building. I know it's hard, you know, but they come from Israel and they don't build immediately. I'd like to thank my dear friend Ofer Yerdeni, Rob Rosani, and Hal Fettner for appearing today. Next week, we're going to leave the residential rental market, and we're going to talk about retail in Long Island. See you next week.
Major funding for this program is provided by grants from HSH Nordbank and First American Title Insurance Company of New York, Perfect Building Maintenance, Allied Partners, Murray Hill Properties, Bank of America, SJP Properties, Greenberg TRAURIG. Additional funding for this program is made possible by grants from Arbor Realty Trust, BRT Realty Trust, Burden LLP, CB Richard Ellis, City Habitats, City Investment Fund, Cushman & Wakefield, Eastern Consolidated, Essex Capital Partners, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, Massey KNAKAL Realty Services, Meridian Capital Group, McSam Hotel Group, Muss Development LLC, Newmark Knight Frank, Palin Enterprises, Rosenthal & Rosenthal, Inc., Signature Bank, Sidney Fettner Associates, Studley, Stonehenge Partners, SWIG Equities, Extreme Contracting and Deconstruction.